Second Amendment is one of the most talked about constitutional rights. Problem is, people can't agree on what those two sentences mean as a whole. Legal expert Walter Clark recently wrote an opinion piece for the Desert Sun, and he's here to talk about it. All right, Walter, thanks for joining us as always. So you offered up your opinion to the newspaper, correct?
I did, and it has to do with a hot topic, the Second Amendment. Typically, we're talking about individual gun rights, but this was somewhat different.
All right, so we had a recent discussion about open carry. What does the Second Amendment address that relates to what's going on today?
Well, the second part of it has to do with what really was the first part of the amendment. And to get the original focus, you can see James Madison's comments in the Federalist Papers, where he's talking about a state militia would absolutely be crucial as a check on federal government tyranny. And keep in mind, when he was concerned about tyranny, they were living in it. King George III had redcoats, the standing army during peace, all over the colonists, and they were able to move into your house and do whatever they wanted to do. And the big issue that we've all heard about since grammar school was taxation without representation. So they were viewing the prospect of the central government as being potentially tyrannous, and that's what they were living under. So the first clause that he wrote in the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state. So he was focused and concerned about that one subject, yet it appears most of what we litigate has to do with the second part of the Second Amendment, which is the individual's right to bear arms. So it's an unusual bit of writing because it's somewhat Shakespearean. It has a lot of commas in it, and we've been fighting over what it really means for years, but that's where we've been left.
All right, does this supposed check on federal power overreach make any sense today?
It certainly does conceptually, because I think we need to go back and appreciate the history that gives us the Second Amendment. But realistically, what is the chance that a state could stand up to the federal government with bombers and big weapons and so forth? In those days, all we had were muskets and some bayonets. So the concept of being able to defend ourselves against the federal tyranny was a little different. And I might say that, if you apply the same concept to the Second Amendment regarding individual rights, look at the changes. We're not dealing with muskets. We are dealing with automatic weapons, assault weapons, and, we've had over 400 mass shootings in the last year. So a lot of things have changed. But the most important thing, I think, is to go back to the original context and appreciate, because right now we're having federal officers versus protesters, federal officers versus local law enforcement. And I think it's a time that we need to reflect on what the original drafters of our Constitution were concerned about, because now we're seeing it. And I think it's really significant to appreciate our history in regard to preservation of our freedoms.
All right. Walter, appreciate the insight. Thank you for sharing.
Delighted to be with you again, Fred. Thank you.